Okay, I'll tell you a story. So I found this in my grandma's house and I showed it to my mom, and my mom said, "Oh yeah, when I was a kid, we would call the drugstore and say, 'Do you have Prince Albert in a can?' Well, you better let him out." Hello, welcome to Write for the Stage. My name is Nicole and I'm a playwright. I'm here to help you learn how to share your ideas, whether that's for an audience of 1 or 1,000. Today's video is called It's the Little Things. You will need 1 or 2 sheets of paper, a pen or pencil, and if you don't have paper or if you'd rather type, then you can use a computer or a tablet instead. Optional, you could bring a sheet of blank paper and markers, colored pencils, crayons, basically anything you like to use to draw. And finally, for this video, you will need an object, 1 object, and I'll say more about that later. Now, don't worry about grabbing your object right now. You'll have a chance to do that later in the video, but just be aware that it will be something from your house, so you don't have to leave your home and you don't have to spend any money, which is good. Now, let's get started. Sometimes when I'm writing, I get stuck. Happens to everybody, happens to every writer, no matter how experienced they are. It's just a thing that happens. We're human. But for me, I've noticed that one of the things that can get me stuck is when I'm focused on the big things, the big parts of a story, like character, drama, action, right? Super important to stories, very real, but they can be kind of intimidating or scary when you're just looking at a blank piece of paper and you don't have an idea yet. It can feel like a little too much to come up with something so big right away. And so sometimes what helps me when I'm stuck is to focus instead on the little things. What do I mean by that? I mean actually, literally, small things. So objects, the things, the stuff in a story, the objects that a character owns or needs to find or maybe borrows or maybe steals, right? Cinderella's glass slipper, Little Red Riding Hood's basket. These objects that actually make a big difference to the story, even though they're just little things. A story that I really like that starts with a little thing is the 2016 Disney movie Moana. Moana takes place on an island in the Pacific Ocean. There are so many islands in the Pacific: Samoa, Fiji, Tahiti, Hawaii, and those are just a few examples. Now, the movie is clearly inspired by these islands and the many different cultures and people of the area, but it's a made-up story. It includes some real elements of indigenous cultures, like, for example, the style of tattooing shown here, and the demigod Maui, who's also shown here, although they changed a bunch of stuff about Maui for the movie. So I guess my point is, just always take these things with a little bit of a grain of salt. But back to Moana herself. For most of the movie, we see her as a 16-year-old, but in the very beginning, when we first meet her, she's just a toddler. And she loves the ocean, but her father won't let her near it. One day, young Moana sees a baby turtle on the shore struggling to get back in the water without being eaten by birds. She helps the turtle get into the water safely, and that's when the ocean seems to take notice of her. The ocean leads Moana closer with a trail of beautiful shells, and as she walks, the ocean spreads out and makes this path for her. The ocean seems to be making a connection with Moana, and it actually reaches out to touch her. Finally, the ocean gives Moana this little thing. It's a round green rock carved with a spiral. It's super small. You can see in this image here, it's only the size of baby Moana's hand. And yet, it turns out that that rock is actually the heart of Te Fiti. The heart has been lost for many years, and that loss has had disastrous consequences. Moana doesn't know it yet, but that rock is going to send her on an important journey, and the journey makes a really good story. If you've seen Moana, then you know that there's a lot more about the heart of Te Fiti and its role in the story. But even if you haven't, you can kind of already tell that this small object has huge importance. And really, I would say the whole story unfolds from this one moment with Moana and a small, round, green rock. So we're going to play around with that kind of moment for ourselves when a character finds something small that has big meaning. Ready? Let's write. Step 1. So now it's time to find an object in your home. I want you to choose something interesting or unusual. So probably not a phone, a computer, or a gaming console. Maybe try to think about something that you don't think everybody has in their house. Your object could be a gift that someone gave you, something you made, something you use for a hobby, like if you play a sport or if you do a different kind of art, or anything you like. So here's my object. It's this old tin, I think for tobacco, which is random, but I found it in my grandma's attic, and I just had never seen anything like this before. I thought the colors were really pretty with the red and the yellow. I thought the dude, the image of the guy on it was like really old-timey and weird. And the shape of the tin too, I was like, it's like a oval and a cylinder. Anyway, so I was just like, Grandma, this is cool. Can I have this? And she said, yeah, that's like old junk. You can just take it. So this is the object that I'm going to write about today. So now it's time for you to grab yours. Just remember, if you find something in your home that you want to use, but it doesn't belong to you, make sure you ask the owner's permission, okay? Don't go telling me, oh, Nicole told me to do it. I took your stuff, but like, it was for my writing, so blame her. No, don't blame me. Make sure you ask permission first. All right? So now's your chance. You can pause the video here and go find an object of your own to write about. Ready? Go. Well done. You've got your object, and if you had a hard time picking, I actually had a hard time picking one object. I was between a few. I just want to say right now, you made the right choice. It's perfect. It's totally going to work. You can make a great story out of it, whatever it is. So just set your doubts aside and let's move on to step number 2. So what you're going to do is write a description of your object using your senses. So think about, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Does it make a sound? Does it have a smell? Obviously, you know you have a 5th sense, which is taste, but I wouldn't recommend tasting your object unless you know it's food. And optional, if you like to draw, then you can draw your object during this step. Here's my description of the tin that I found in my grandmother's attic. First, I used my sense of sight. It looks like a rectangular shape with round or oval ends. One side of it is bright red, and the other is faded a very light orange. There's an old-fashioned portrait of a balding guy with a beard, and the top is rusty. Next, I used my sense of touch. It feels smooth and hard. It's not heavy, it's hollow inside. And the top where it's rusty is kind of rough. Third, I checked to see if it made a sound, which it does. So when I squeeze the middle, it makes a metallic popping sound, kind of like the lid of a jam jar. When I tap on it with my nail, it makes more of a clicking sound since it's metal. And finally, number 4, I used my sense of smell. I actually thought it would smell like rust because it's rusty on top, but it really smells like nothing at all. So my answer to does it have a smell for me is no. All right, now it's your turn. Before you start writing, I want you to just take a beat, take a breath, and slow down so that you can observe your object a little more closely. See if you can notice something about it that you didn't notice right away when you grabbed it. You'd be surprised at what you see that you didn't notice at first. All right, you're in charge of the time, so hit pause here and just explore. Nice work. So now it's time to move on to the final step, step number 3. We've already used our powers of observation, so now it's time to use our imagination. Imagine that someone finds your object. It's okay if you don't know who that someone is. If you happen to have a character in mind, great, you can use that character. But if not, you can just kind of focus on the object itself and let the character come as you write. If you're super stuck though, then my suggestion would be to think of a character that's not a human being. So maybe even a character not from planet Earth. And that way, when they find your object, they're gonna have a ton of questions. No matter who you pick, what you're gonna do is write 1 or 2 paragraphs from that character's point of view. So you'll use the first person, I. Describe what they find and how they find it. Here are just a few questions to help you get started. Where does the character find the object? What's the first thing they notice about it? Obviously here you can use the description that you wrote in step 2 to help you out. And finally, what guesses do they make about the object? Maybe they have a guess about who it belongs to, or what it's for, what it does. You don't have to answer all those questions. Those are just some things to help you get thinking. You can see here that the very first word in the very first paragraph that I wrote is the word I. So that's what I meant when I said write in the first person. It's like the way you would write if you were writing a letter or a speech, and it's the way we talk too. But if this is new to you, then I just want you to remember that magic word I, and then you should be good. Here's what I wrote. I was trying to find the half teaspoon when it happened. Mom was baking, and she told me to make myself useful. I found the tablespoon and the quarter teaspoon, but no half. So I opened the bottom drawer, and there it was, an old red tin. How long had it been in our kitchen? The top was rusty, and one side had faded in the sun. The label says tobacco, but no one in my family smokes. Mom saw it and told me it was just junk. She told me to recycle it. Something told me not to listen to her. I popped the tin in my sweatshirt pocket and told my mom I would be right back. In my room, safe with the door shut, I took another look. Small arrows on the faded side say, push up. I try the lid, but it won't budge. That's when I hear it. A soft rattling inside. Something light and crinkly. It can't be tobacco anymore. As old as this is, it would have turned to dust by now. Someone put something in here and hid it in our kitchen. Someone related to me? Dun, dun, dun. That's as far as I got. Okay, it's your turn. This is the last step, so take as much time as you like. Ready? Go. That's it. You're done. You learned how to use a little thing to create a story. I hope you had fun. If you enjoyed writing about an object today, you can actually repeat the video, but just choose a different object in your home. See what new ideas you might come up with when you have a different source of inspiration. Or if you're working on a character, then you might think about what objects are important to them. It's the little things that we value that really say a lot about who we are. Thank you for watching Write for the Stage. I'll see you next time. Bye.